In this verse, Krishna takes us deeper. He says anger leads to clouding of judgment, which results in bewilderment of memory. When memory is bewildered, the intellect gets destroyed, and when the intellect is destroyed, one is ruined. He's not talking about simply forgetting something or loss of memory. Commentators such as Swami Chinmayananda explain Smriti as our ability to remember the wisdom and values we have gathered through experience. When anger overwhelms us, we temporarily lose access to that wisdom. We know better, but in that moment we cannot seem to act from what we know. Eknath Easwaran similarly reads these verses as a remarkably practical description of the mind. Once emotion takes control, clear judgment becomes increasingly difficult. History gives us a striking example in Richard Nixon and the Watergate scandal. Nixon was intelligent, politically experienced, and had reached the highest office in the United States. Yet his presidency became increasingly shaped by political insecurity, suspicion, and concern about perceived enemies. The Watergate break in itself was serious, but what ultimately brought Nixon down was the chain of decisions that followed: the attempts to conceal what had happened, obstruct the investigation, and preserve political power. One questionable decision led to another until Nixon resigned the presidency in 1974. Seen through the lens of this verse, Watergate becomes more than a political story. It becomes a human story. When fear, anger, pride, or self-preservation takes over, our world can become very small. We stop seeing the whole picture. We forget our values, and eventually our judgment suffers. And perhaps we recognize smaller versions of this in ourselves. The angry message we immediately send, the argument in which winning becomes more important than understanding, the decision we make simply because our pride has been hurt. Krishna does not tell us that anger will never arise. He teaches us to recognize what can happen if we allow anger to lead. So the next time a strong emotion rises, perhaps our practice can simply be to pause long enough for wisdom to return. And reflect today that when I am angry or threatened, am I seeing the situation clearly, or am I seeing it through the lens of my emotion? And here is the verse. क्रोधाद् भवति सम्मोहः सम्मोहात् स्मृतिविभ्रमः स्मृतिभ्रंशात् बुद्धिनाशो बुद्धिनाशात् प्रणश्यति. Until next time, may we savor the nectar of life through the wisdom of the Gita. Thank you. Thank you for listening.